Good morning, Sangha. It's nice to have all of you who are viewing from home or other places. We have a few honored guests today, just a very few, because today is one of those occasions that just makes an old monk's heart sing. We have the ordination of a new Dharma teacher, and we have an individual who will be receiving the precepts. And it's this kind of occasion that reminds me of so many of the teachings, but especially the Avatamsaka Sutra, where when these kind of ceremonies were held, there would be huge assemblies and lotus flowers would fall from the sky and rose-scented leaves would, just all of the pageantry that unfortunately we cannot have at this particular point in time. But this is truly a celebration. It is a celebration of Buddhism. It is a celebration of the Buddha. It is a celebration of the Dharma. And it is a celebration of the Sangha, the world Sangha, and all sentient beings in all of the 10 directions. So thank you so much for sharing these moments with us. And now I would like to ask Pangjin Su to come forward. Pangjin Su is being ordained as a Dharma teacher at the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple today. Let us begin today by chanting the refuge vow. I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I would like you now to offer 3 deep vows to the great teaching master, Shakyamuni Buddha. Please now offer 3 deep vows to all of your ancestors in the teaching lineage. please offer 3 deep bows to your friends, family, and their ancestors. And finally, please offer 3 deep bows to you. This particular ceremony might be unfamiliar to some of you. It's the first time it's been offered at the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple, but it is called the lamp transmission. The lamp transmission refers to the manner in which the teaching or Dharma is passed from a monk to their student. The procedure establishes the student as a transmitting teacher in their own right and successor in an unbroken lineage of teachers and students. The spiritual bloodline, theoretically, traced back to the Buddha himself. According to the teachings, the first instance of Dharma transmission occurred as transcribed in the Avatamsaka Sutra when the Buddha held up a golden lotus flower given to him by Brahma before an assembly of gods and men. A Dharma teacher is a continuation of the Buddha and of all our ancestral teachers. Their deepest aspiration is to manifest mindfulness, concentration, and insight in every thought, word, and action. Guided and protected by wisdom and compassion, a Dharma teacher is a happy person who joyfully passes on the practice to others. A Dharma teacher in the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple tradition conducts one's life in accord with the 5 and 14 mindfulness trainings, is guided by bodhicitta, looks deeply and sees and nourishes the bodhicitta in others with the support of their fellow teachers and monks, the Sangha, and their family. Tangjin today, September 5th, 2021, the year 2584, the year of the Buddha, with the consensus of the senior teachers and monks of the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple, it is an honor to ordain you as a teacher of the Dharma and a lineage holder that goes back through 82 teaching ancestors, beginning with the master teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, through me, and now to you. Tangjin Su, do you now accept your calling and position alongside all of your spiritual ancestors? And do you vow to conduct yourself as a teacher of the Dharma in accordance with the Dharma and the Code of Ethical Standards put forth by the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple Board of Directors? I accept my calling and position.
I accept my calling and position
Along all of my spiritual ancestors.
Alongside all of my spiritual ancestors.
And hereby vow.
To
conduct myself as a teacher of the Dharma. In accordance with the Dharma. And the Code of Ethical Standards. Put forth by the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple Board of Directors.
Put forth by the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple Board of Directors.
This tall candle represents the teachings of the great teaching master, Shakyamuni Buddha. I lit this candle from that candle as one of the ancestors in the lineage. And now I pass this candle to you, and may you be mindful of your ancestors and of the true Dharma each time you light the candle. You should take a breath. Having taken sacred vows and accepting your place in the teaching lineage of the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple, it is an honor and privilege for the monks and senior teachers to welcome you as a fully ordained teacher of the Dharma. Welcome to our new Dharma brother.
Thank you.
I'm very sorry, I forgot to present the certificate. This is your certificate of ordination. It has my stamp on it and the temple stamp on it, and this is the lineage chart that starts with Shakyamuni Buddha and ends up 84 names later with you. Through India, China, Korea, to America. Congratulations. Now I would like to invite Kunga Naima Rotos to the stage, who's going to receive the precepts. Would you please begin with 15 deep bows? Kunga is no stranger to Buddhism and has taken the refuge vows before he came to the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple. I've been honored to have him as a student, and he has done all of the prerequisite and requisite training to receive the precepts. And today we're going to have that ceremony. But let's talk a moment about what it means to be Buddhist. Those of us who have traveled the path for a bit understand that every sentient being has inherent Buddha nature. It's there already. There's nothing to seek. It's just looking within and realizing. And spending time in the Dharma that unlocks the door to what's already present. There is a sacred nature of the Buddha nature that when we realize the sacredness of life itself, when we realize that reality, the stark reality of the Four Noble Truths, when we learn and understand the Noble Eightfold Path, and that we ourselves are the arbiters of what is right, good, or proper, each step of the path, that brings witness to the gravity of taking the refuge vows, receiving the precepts, taking the bodhisattva vows, taking Dharma teacher training vows, and then eventually perhaps becoming a monk and taking those vows. There is a spiritual gravity that comes with those things, but there is also an accompanying joy and freedom that we experience on each step of our understanding on this path. Because the wonderful thing is, not one of us can ever reach a point where we say, I've arrived, I've got this. No. The only thing I've ever come to realize throughout this path is that there's absolutely nothing within my control. Nothing. That no one's coming to save me, that I am 100% totally accountable and responsible for my actions, words, and deeds. That when I err, it is my responsibility, if I understand how I've erred, to make amends. If I have erred unknowingly, I count on my Dharma brothers and sisters to come to me and say, this is what my experience of you has been, because as we've been taught by the Buddha, that's pretty good. The Buddha and the Buddha. Yes, what we've been taught by the Buddha is that direct experience is our only reality. And when someone else has a direct experience of being offended by me, I have a sacred duty to do whatever is within my power to right that wrong. That is the gravity and the joy. Regardless of our mistakes, we can always recover with right action and with prajna, the wisdom that comes along with following this path. So right now, I would like you to give 3 vows to the Buddha. Now I would like you to give 3 vows to Buddhas, all Buddhists, throughout beginningless and endless time. Now I would like you to give 3 vows to your teacher. Now I would like you to give 3 vows to the 3 directions representing your respect and honoring of the Sangha. And now, are you prepared to receive the 5 precepts? Number 1, aware of the suffering caused by the destruction of life, I am committed to cultivating the insight of interbeing and compassion and learning ways to protect the lives of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I am determined not to kill, not to let others kill, and not to support any act of killing in the world, in my thinking, or in my way of life. Seeing that harmful actions arise from anger, fear, greed, and intolerance, which in turn come from dualistic and discriminative thinking, I will cultivate openness, non-discrimination, and non-attachment to views in order to transform violence, fanaticism, and dogmatism in myself and in the world. Do you accept this precept? Number 2, aware of the suffering caused by exploitation, social injustice, stealing, and oppression, I am committed to practicing generosity in my thinking, speaking, and acting. I am determined not to steal and not to possess anything that should belong to others. And I will share my time, energy, and material resources with those who are in need. I will practice looking deeply to see that the happiness and suffering of others are not separate from my own happiness and suffering. That true happiness is not possible without understanding and compassion, and that running after wealth, fame, and power and sensual pleasures can bring much suffering and despair. I am aware that happiness depends on my mental attitude and not an external condition, and that I can live happily in the present moment simply by remembering that I have already more than enough conditions to be happy. I am committed to practicing right livelihood so that I can help reduce the suffering of living beings on Earth and to stop contributing to climate change. Do you accept this precept? Aware of the suffering caused by sexual misconduct, I am committed to cultivating responsibility and learning ways to protect the safety and integrity of individuals, couples, families, and society. Knowing that sexual desire is not love and that sexual activity motivated by craving always harms myself as well as others, I am determined not to engage in sexual relations without true love and a deep, long-term commitment made known to my family and friends. I will do everything in my power to protect children from sexual abuse and to prevent couples and families from being broken by sexual misconduct. Seeing that body and mind are one, I am committed to learn appropriate ways to take care of my sexual energy and cultivating loving kindness, compassion, joy, and inclusiveness, which are the four basic elements of true love, for my greater happiness and the greater happiness of others. Practicing true love, we know that we will continue beautifully into the future. Do you accept this precept? Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others, I am committed to cultivating loving speech and compassionate listening in order to relieve suffering and to promote reconciliation and peace in myself and among other people, ethnic and religious groups, and nations. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I am committed to speaking truthfully, using words that inspire confidence, joy, and hope. When anger is manifested in me, I am determined not to speak. I will practice mindful breathing and walking in order to recognize and to look deeply into my anger. I know that the roots of anger can be found in my wrong perceptions and lack of understanding of the suffering in myself and in the other person. I will speak and listen in a way that can help oneself, myself, and the other person to transform suffering and to see the way out of difficult situations. I am determined not to spread news that I do not know to be certain, and not to utter words that can cause division or discord. I will practice right diligence to nourish my capacity for understanding, love, joy, and inclusiveness, and gradually transform anger, violence, and fear that lie deep in my consciousness. Do you accept this precept? And then lastly, aware of the suffering caused by unmindful consumption, I am committed to cultivating good health, both physically and mentally, for myself, my family, and my society, by practicing mindful eating, drinking, and consuming. I will practice looking deeply into how I consume the four kinds of nutrients, namely edible foods, sense impressions, volition, and consciousness. I am determined not to gamble or to use alcohol, drugs, or any products which contain toxins, such as certain websites, electronic games, TV programs, films, magazines, books, and conversation. I will practice coming back to the present moment to be in touch with the refreshing, healing, and nourishing elements in me and around me, not letting regrets and sorrow drag me back into the past, nor letting anxieties, fear, or craving pull me out of the present moment. I am determined not to try to cover up loneliness, anxiety, or other sufferings by myself in consumption. I will contemplate interbeing and consume in a way that preserves peace, joy, and well-being in my body and consciousness, and in the collective body and consciousness of my family, my society, and the earth. Do you accept this precept? Having received these precepts, we will now receive the mark of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Please present your arm. You have already been given the Dharma name Kunga Naima Drogos, which means all joy sun. That's Ashuan. All joy sun. A beautiful, beautiful name. Now together, to close, we will do our closing gathas. For all unskillful action ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. Vast is the robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddha's teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. This concludes our ceremonies this morning, and you may both step down. And Katya, Sue, I believe, has an announcement or two. Come up and please give those announcements.
Good morning, Sangha. The fundraising committee met this week, and I wanted to update people on two issues. The first one has to do with activities that we were planning or had planned, one being the silent auction and the second being the bowl ceremony. the pandemic has changed all of our lives, and we're not going to do it quite yet. We're going to wait and see what happens. The second thing has to do with fundraising, and I wanted to give folks an idea of the monthly expenses for the temple. Talked to the treasurer, Jake, and he was kind enough to give us a number of operating monthly costs, and it's about $1,900 a month for rent, utilities, insurance, supplies, etc. Our monthly income at this moment in time is about $1,400. We strategized understanding people's financial challenges, and we thought one of the ways that we could do it is with Amazon Smile. We generate about $70 a month at this moment in time, and so we're asking if people have friends and family, if they could ask them to sign up for Amazon Smile. $70 is really helpful. Amazon pays, I think it's 0.05 to the temple, and it costs the person nothing. So that's a really good thing to do. And then the last thing is we have in the temple about 15 recurrent donors, which means that they give every month through PayPal or check. And we're asking to the extent that people are able to consider during this time, since we're not in temple worshiping, to increase that or to make a monthly donation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katya. The only thing I would add to that is that there are no employees of the Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple. We are an entirely volunteer organization. All of the teachings, no one gets paid for those. And this temple is a gem, it's a jewel in the community. I also know, and it's been in the newsletter, that the board of directors is looking for more candidates, and we encourage people from the Sangha to please, if you feel you have time, effort, and energy to invest in the board of directors, to do that. We do have upcoming programs, a preceptor program and a bodhisattva program, which will be beginning. All of that information is on the newsletter. If you do not receive the newsletter, please go to the website, www.zengr.org, and you can sign up for the newsletter there. I would like to thank you all for being part of our celebration today. And Kunga and Tongjin Tu are going to be going back to the computer and talking with guests and those of you who have joined us on Zoom today. And so have a blessed day. Goodbye.